Alright, so the next one we're going to do is the male warrior of the sun from Kingdom Death. Huh. I love the golds and then the greens and reds. There's his art card and his large art card. And I love the large ones because they really show you the concept art. I love that they include that. I don't know, it's like a nice little collector's piece that I always thought was cool. Like, I have literally no use for them myself because I don't know where I'd store them, but when you get you know, Kingdom Death miniatures are very boutique. Like, you get them in this nice, like, box. It's like you'd go to this, like, hole-in-the-wall store in some big city and find them. So that aspect of it is really cool. But let me get started. I apologize that it is not in focus. I wanted to keep it in focus on the small areas. That way you guys can see the actual detail work that goes into building these. So there is another camera up to the right to kind of get an idea of what I'm doing here on the work surface. This guy's a little different. So he looks like he's not like sprinting. Like he just landed on a building or something, jumping from place to place. Whereas his female counterpart that I just finished seems like she's like mid stride, I guess. So now with the body, I normally say keep this peg just in case, but it's only important on bases that actually have scenery on them because they tend to have peg holes. An example of that is actually the Gladiator right here that I just finished yesterday. She actually has 2 holes for pegs that were at the bottom of her feet. So bear that in mind when you start putting them together because sometimes that happens. So, but in this case, the peg isn't necessary at all. So, and that's actually the glue point that you're going to want. So if you were really ambitious, sure, you could drill a hole into your base, but when I use a combination of super glue and my super glue accelerant, it should be just fine. Yeah, the lag's gone. I actually looked at my original Kingdom Death painting video, the one I did 3 months ago, and I took a look at it and it's like, wait a minute, the quality of that is better than what I'm getting today. What happened? So, so that's why I completely redid the setup. There is no lag on any of the cameras. Should be just fine. Alright. So right now I'm trimming up his part of his cloak. Trying to make sure that all the molds, lines are removed, and any of the extra flash. These are actually pretty good, I'm surprised, considering how detailed they are. But you tend to get mold lines on the bigger parts rather than the really thin parts. Because usually they're cast like this way, to where the mold is poured down, and then you typically don't get any because there's no, the 2 halves meet on the very edges. But on a body like him, he'll be cast flat and then poured at the top, and then you'll get mold lines where the molds meet. But they tend to be pretty good. So here's an example. There's one right down his back, right down in there. I don't know if you can see that line. It's not so bad actually. I'm actually very happy with this one. The mold lines aren't that bad, but it's good to turn it around. Yeah, you can see there's one right down the middle, but it's not that bad actually. And it's to the point where if I tried to scrape it off, it would just make it worse. So we're good. So he's done, and some of his tassels are done. Now he's got a lot more. So he's got 2 swords. And here's a mistake I messed up with on the female warrior of the sun. Is I tried cutting this off with the X-Acto. That did not work. I actually hurt the blade. So go like with your clippers. Go clip off the very end first. Like that. And then go in. Go towards the middle of your clippers. Just be careful to get that angle right. You might actually have to like hold this. It tends to want to move. There, that's better. That's much better. Now I can scrape a little bit, but the problem is when you put any friction on this edge, it'll create pressure, and this is so fragile it'll just snap. So be careful with the swords. And now I'm just kind of gently shaving this. There we go. So the sword is done, and the scabbard should be done too. I'll just cut those off. the same design as the female warrior of the sun, so it should be straightforward. And then his arms are actually attached. It's nice because I guess he's more masculine in his design, so he doesn't have like arm tassels in the way that the female did. Looks like he has tassels that go out of his greaves, I guess. His arm wraps at the front instead of the back. Interesting, a really interesting mold. This one's really detailed and complicated, but it looks like each of these is a tassel. And they must attach to him in more than one place. That's what you're cutting out. And I'll clean these up in a second. This is already broken, so I don't know if I'm too worried about it or not. I haven't decided. Because you can see that mold defect right there from where it hit. But I don't know exactly where. So I'm going to look up some art really quick. I'm going to double check to make sure that I know exactly what I'm doing. It's good to just Google it. That way you can see, hopefully, the artwork that is 360. Or, if failing that, try to find the right angle for what you're doing. In mine, it looks like it is like that. Okay, good. Yep. Okay. So I double checked, and this part is actually not necessary. This goes over his left shoulder, and it looks like it attaches right here. I'll show you in a second. Looks like it attaches right here. So it would only attach at the one point, just like that. So should be fine. We'll know for sure in a second, but all right. So now I'm going to clean these up. You can see all the little strips and stuff. That's what you want to avoid having, because when you start painting, those are just going to break off. But the point they break off at might leave a little mark where the paint should have been, but couldn't be because this was blocking it. So it's good to get these off right away. And they're pretty they're pretty flimsy, so you just scrape them off gently. And it looks like there are some mold lines on this, but I'm not gonna be too worried about it, because these pieces are so fragile. If you really try to scrape them off, sometimes you'll end up breaking the pieces. And so you got to kind of judge in your mind and think, is cleaning up the mold line more important than risking breaking it? On Kinect, it's always a judgment call, because the mold line may be horrible and you have to get it. That's kind of a given on some of these where the mold line is really bad. Kinect typically doesn't have that issue, which is nice. And then if it doesn't have one that's really bad, then you're going to say, hey, if I clean this up and break it, is that going to create more work for me? Is it really going to impact the way the model looks when it's painted, to the point where that break that I created is actually fine? Like, you just have to decide. And it looks like this rope, I've still got the art pulled up on my other screen over here. It looks like this rope actually goes right on his back. So that's where that goes. And then he's got other tassels that look like they come out from his neck, I believe, like a neck scarf, just like the female. So let me clean up these parts, and then I'll get him glued onto the base and kind of show off where all the parts go and what I'm doing. Okay, so there's actually a little peg on this. So I'm actually curious, after I drop my razor, my X-Acto, at least I didn't drop it on a foot or anything. I'm actually curious. Yep, there are actually holes for this. So you got to be careful. Some of these really, really small parts have pegs that are meant to go in holes. So that's what that is. So you got to be careful and try not to cut them off, this one has one as well. So they must both go in here somewhere. Yep, there we go. That one goes there. And see, it's literally slot fit. I'll have to glue it, but that means they knew what they're designed for these. So I'm going to glue him on. I'm going to make sure the bottom of his foot is really flat. There, it's really flat now. So I'm going to spray my Instaset. Some Instaset. You can look, it is accelerator for super glue. You can look it up on Amazon. It's pretty easy to find. As long as you know about it. I definitely recommend having some for King of Death figures because super glue tends to be really good for putting them together. But not only that, it works with the accelerant. Sorry, I'm just holding it now. So yeah, you can see how quick that was. And there he is. So now I'm actually going to glue those tassels on. That's a mistake I made on the female, is I did not glue them on. So, oh, and actually there might be 3. I see 3 attachment points. Yep. So I see 3 of them. So it looks like the this one is the middle one. This is where I thought that other one went. The double tassel turns up, actually, so that must be the one on the other side. So I'll do this one. This is the I don't know. It's like it's got two ends on it, I guess. And that one goes on the far side of his neck piece here. It goes right here, just like that. You can see it in the art from this direction. Actually, that might turn up the other way. Looking at the art, I'm like, is that quite right? Ah, there we go. Sorry, I have a reverse one now. A reverse image. So it does go up. Cool. So it does go up like that. Just like that. Alright, and then the middle one is the other one. So I'll put all the glue there that I need to. The middle one turns up. The little one does. It goes right there. It goes up like that. Just like that. And then the last one actually is turned down. So it looks like the peg goes up, but the leaf goes down. Just like that. There we go. So just like that. Okay, so those are done, and I did those first because now the arm pieces can be very straightforward. I don't have to worry about them or drop them. Okay, one other tip I'll give you guys: if you drop something, immediately take note of where you are. Like right now, the worst thing I can do is step away and step on the piece I just dropped because I don't know exactly where it is. So make sure your feet are on the floor. Don't move them to a place you think it could be. And don't move your chair back. Okay. Now that I'm out of the way, I can lift my chair away, hopefully. There we go. And then not squish the piece I just dropped. Information from many, many, many mistakes. Okay. Now I gotta decide where these go. I believe this one goes right here. Yep. So, this is the right side one. It looks like a weird symbol. This one. That one goes right here. Well, let's look at the front, actually. Let me look at some art. Okay, it comes out of his shoulders, which is like here. Interesting. And it actually attaches to his arms. Hey, Jason, thank you very much. So, I'm going to have to attach his arms first. Boom! There goes the bits cup. Alright, so these are slot fit. Oh, there you go. See, there's a peg in his arm. So let me glue the arms on really quick. Okay. So now that's crazy symbol thing again. It actually has a peg right at the end that I'm lucky I didn't cut off. There's a little peg on it. And there's another one in here. So it looks like it's supposed to go straight in there. Attached right to him. I may not be able to rely on those, however. Because they're a bit odd. Oh. This one's going in a place I don't want it to go. Stop it. Alright. So I'm trying to fit it here. It's definitely the right one. Just trying to make sure I fit it in the right spot before I glue, otherwise it'll have a seam where I don't want it, or... Okay, so that one's giving me trouble, so I switched to the other side. Huh, I actually might have been wrong. We'll see. I may have been wrong as to which one goes where. Yeah, I think I was wrong. No? No, I wasn't wrong. I wasn't wrong. Yeah, the one that's like this goes on his left arm. Yeah, I wasn't wrong. I just felt like I was. Shaving a little off there. Okay. Glue this in. This guy's a pain in the butt, but he actually looks pretty cool. And the pegs, even though they're not tending to work out very well. So I'm just going to trim them off. That's the problem, is pegs can work if they're perfect. But if they're not perfect, they don't go in properly and they just create a problem. So I'm relying mostly on the super glue for structural stability. Hopefully you get one that doesn't have as many issues with the pegs. Because it looks like it was designed to where those pegs actually go into the holes, and yeah, there he is. So he has wings. So the belt actually goes right here, and it looks like there's a peg for that as well. Yep, there's a peg right, I don't know if you can see it, it's right there. So it's supposed to go like this, right like that. Nope, the other way around. So the tassel for that goes down. Right, like that. Yep, just like that. So you'll see in a second where it goes. I just wanted to dry fit it so I knew exactly where it goes. There, just like that. And now it looks like his sword is actually... Yep, cool. His scabbard. I'm looking at his scabbard now where it goes. So that's also a peg fit, but like before, the peg doesn't work out perfectly. It creates more problems than it's worth. Which seems to be the case. Nope. No, the sword is... This is his scabbard on his right arm this time. And the sword is on his left. I'm looking at the thumbs. Yep, I'm looking at the thumbs. It's held this way. Just like my hand. So he must be holding the sword behind his back. In the art. Again, with those peg holes, though. These actual pegs here are too big for the holes that are on the arms. So I gotta scrape off the pegs. So you've got two choices. You can do what I'm doing, is just scrape off the pegs and glue them. Glue the piece in. Or, if you're really careful, you can try to either make the hole bigger in the hand, or the peg smaller. And that may give you a little more structural stability. No. But for me, I'm just going to shave off the peg. I got an interesting feeling. I'm using the rope to help. And I have an interesting feeling that I'll just break the rope. So I'm stopping. If you feel like you're forcing something on one of these miniatures, you probably are. And you should stop. Take a breath. Rethink what you're doing. Come back. It's really easy to break them if you force anything. Yeah, this is where the pegs all come in handy, because then it's got some more surface area to adhere to. But I did just fine. There we go. And I think he's supposed to have his sword, like, angled, like this. Yeah, I'll do it like that. Yeah, that's fine. I think it's supposed to be, like, severely angled, like, all the way back. But I don't know if I like that. Well, let's see what it looks like. Oh, that's not so bad, actually. I like that. No, I wasn't able to get it done. I had to figure out the camera thing again. Do you want me to send it fast mail? If you want it by Saturday, I can send it even faster tomorrow, so it'll get there. Yeah, I wouldn't have been able to do these build guides really quite the same if I hadn't reset the cameras. It's a pity, though, because I'm really behind on shipping you guys your stuff. No, I've shipped miniatures for years. I ship my stuff pretty well. That's the problem with the fragile stickers, is nobody at the post office pays attention to that, which is sad, but yeah, they don't. So I noticed this little nub here on his front leg too. It's completely unnecessary. There we go. And the funny thing is too, bubble wrap doesn't work very well either for shipping miniatures. Like, bubble wrap is one of the worst things you can ship them in. Because it's good until it pops, but then it pops, and then there's no use for it. So, sorry, I'm gluing that here. There he is. Hold on. Cool. There's the male warrior of the sun. This should be a lot of fun to paint, actually.